In this video, you'll study 100 essential terms from Domain 3 of the ISC2 Certified in Cybersecurity exam, which will help you prepare and increase your confidence. These terms are taken from the concepts of access control, physical access control and logical access control. Let's get started. 1. Access control. Access control refers to the process of restricting who can access or use certain systems, data, or physical locations. For instance, employees in the HR department can access payroll data, but others are blocked by access control settings configured in the system. 2. Access Control List, ACL. An access control list is a rule-based mechanism that defines which users or systems can access specific resources and under what conditions. Here is an example. A network switch uses an ACL to allow internal devices to access the database but blocks traffic from untrusted external networks. 3. Administrative access. Administrative access is a type of elevated privilege that allows a user to make changes to systems, including configurations and accounts. For example, a system administrator installs new software patches and manages user permissions using their administrative access on company servers. 4. Administrative controls. Administrative controls refer to policies, procedures, and training programs that guide user behavior to maintain security. An example includes requiring employees to attend annual cybersecurity training and sign an acceptable use policy before receiving system access. 5. Alarm. An alarm is a security mechanism that detects suspicious activity and triggers a response, such as notifications, lights, or sirens. For example, if someone tries to force open the server room door, a motion sensor triggers an alarm and alerts security personnel via SMS and email. 6. Apple iOS. Apple iOS is a mobile operating system developed by Apple, used on iPhones and iPads, and commonly secured in enterprise environments. For instance, a company enforces encryption, password protection, and remote wipe policies on all employee iPhones running iOS to protect sensitive business data. 7. Asset. An asset refers to anything valuable to an organization, including data, software, devices, and people. Here is an example. Customer contact lists stored in a CRM system are classified as critical assets because they directly impact sales and marketing operations. 8. Audit. An audit is a formal review of systems, data, or user activities to ensure compliance with security policies and identify weaknesses. For example, during a quarterly audit, the IT team checks access logs and system configurations to ensure no unauthorized changes have been made. 9. Badge. A badge is a physical ID or electronic card that verifies identity and grants access to secure areas or systems. For instance, employees use their electronic badges to access the office building, and the entry times are logged automatically in the security system. 10. Biometric. Biometric refers to authentication based on unique biological features like fingerprints, iris scans, or facial recognition. An example includes using fingerprint scanners at the data center in trance to allow only authorized engineers to enter high-security zones. 11. Cable protection. Cable protection refers to physical measures that prevent cables from being damaged, tampered with, or exposed to environmental hazards. For example, critical network cables in a server room are placed inside steel conduits to stop physical tampering and reduce wear from foot traffic or rodents. 12. Cameras. Cameras are surveillance tools used to monitor and record activity in sensitive areas for safety, deterrence, or investigation. For instance, surveillance cameras are installed at entrances, exits, and data centers to capture unauthorized attempts and provide video evidence in case of a breach. 13. Configuration settings. Configuration settings are the adjustable options in software or hardware that determine how a system behaves, including its security features. An example includes setting user password expiration to 90 days and disabling USB ports through group policy settings on all employee laptops. 14. Crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. DID is a design strategy that uses lighting, visibility, and layout to discourage crime in buildings and spaces. For example, a company removes tall bushes near the entrance, installs brighter outdoor lights, and uses clear glass walls to improve visibility and deter intruders. 15. DAC, Discretionary Access Control. DAC is a flexible access control model where the owner of a resource decides who can access it and what permissions they have. For instance, a team leader grants read and write access to certain folders on their department's shared drive, while restricting access for users outside the team. 16. Database. A database is an organized collection of structured information, typically stored electronically and accessed using specialized software. Here is an example. The company's customer service portal pulls information from a secure database that stores names, orders, and issue histories for support staff use. 17. Defense in depth. Defense in depth is a layered approach to security where multiple types of controls are used to protect systems from different angles. For example, a company uses firewalls, antivirus software, MFA, physical security, and employee training together to defend against internal and external threats. 18. Denial of service, DOS. A DOS attack is an attempt to overwhelm a system with traffic or requests to make it slow or completely unavailable to legitimate users. For instance, attackers send thousands of fake requests to a banking site at once, causing it to crash so customers cannot log in or complete transactions. 19. Device. A device is any electronic equipment, such as computers, smartphones, or routers, used to access, store, or transmit data. An example includes using company-issued laptops with endpoint protection software installed to connect to corporate networks securely while working remotely. 20. Discretionary Access Control. Discretionary access control is the same as DAC, where resource access is determined by the owner's preferences and permissions. For example, a software developer grants a contractor temporary write access to a code repository and later revokes it after the work is completed. 21. Encrypt. Encrypt refers to converting readable information into a scrambled form so that only authorized users can read it with a special key. For instance, sensitive email messages are encrypted using public key encryption so that even if intercepted, attackers cannot read the content without the decryption key. 22. Event logging. Event logging is the process of recording system activities and events to track operations and support investigation or compliance efforts. Here is an example. The system logs all login attempts, including successful and failed ones, which can later be reviewed to detect unusual or malicious behavior. 23. Fences. Fences are physical barriers that help protect buildings and sensitive areas by limiting access and guiding entry points. For example, a tall chain-link fence with locked gates surrounds a data center, and visitors must check in at the guard post to enter the premises. 24. File. A file is a collection of data or information stored digitally with a name and format, such as documents, spreadsheets, or media. For instance, employee contracts are stored as PDF files on a secure file server, and only HR staff can open or edit them using their access rights. 25. Firewall. A firewall is a system or device that monitors and filters network traffic based on predefined security rules. An example includes configuring a firewall to block all incoming connections except from trusted IP addresses, reducing exposure to unauthorized access. 26. Fire suppression. Fire suppression refers to tools and systems designed to detect and extinguish fires in protected environments, especially in IT areas. For instance, a data center uses a gas-based fire suppression system that activates automatically without damaging sensitive equipment like servers or network devices. 27. Guard dogs. Guard dogs are trained animals used for physical security to detect, deter, and respond to unauthorized access or threats. An example includes deploying guard dogs during night shifts around a large warehouse facility to detect intruders and alert nearby security staff. 28. Guards, security. Security guards are personnel responsible for physically protecting assets, monitoring entry points, and responding to security incidents. For example, a security guard at a corporate office checks employee badges at the entrance and escorts visitors to authorized areas. 29. GUI, Graphical User Interface. A GUI is a visual way of interacting with a system or application using icons, menus, and buttons, rather than command line inputs. For instance, users navigate their email settings through a GUI by clicking tabs and toggles instead of typing technical commands. 30. Hardware controls. Hardware controls refer to physical mechanisms in hardware that enhance security, such as USB locks, chassis locks, and secure boot settings. For example, disabling unused USB ports through BIOS prevents unauthorized devices from being connected to the system. 31. Insider threat. An insider threat is a security risk that comes from within the organization, often involving employees or contractors misusing their access. For example, a former employee who still has remote access credentials tries to download confidential reports from the company's internal systems. 32. Integrity. Integrity refers to the accuracy, consistency, and trustworthiness of information, ensuring it is not altered by unauthorized people or programs. For example, a system uses hashing to verify that no one has changed the contents of a financial file during storage or transmission. 33. iOS. iOS is a mobile operating system developed by Apple, primarily used on iPhones and iPads, known for its secure and closed architecture. For instance, a hospital uses mobile device management to enforce encryption and app restrictions on all iOS devices used by medical staff. 34. Jumper plug. A jumper plug is a small connector used on a circuit board to enable or disable certain hardware functions or features. For example, a technician installs a jumper plug on a server motherboard to disable onboard audio and avoid conflicts with security software. 35. Layered defense. Layered defense is a security strategy that uses multiple protective controls at different points to reduce risk if one layer fails. An example includes using firewalls, antivirus, access controls, encryption, and awareness training together to protect systems from external and internal threats. 36. Least privilege principle. The least privilege principle is the practice of giving users only the minimum level of access they need to do their jobs. For instance, a marketing assistant has access to edit promotional materials but cannot view internal budget spreadsheets, reducing risk if their account is compromised. 37. Lights. Lights refer to exterior and interior lighting used to enhance physical security by improving visibility and deterring unauthorized access. For example, bright motion-activated lights are installed around a facility's entrances to discourage intruders during night hours. 38. Linux. Linux is a family of open-source operating systems commonly used for servers, known for flexibility, stability, and strong command line tools. An example includes configuring a Linux-based server to host internal tools, where only trained administrators can access it through Secure Shell (SSH). 39. Logical access control. Logical access control refers to software-based mechanisms that manage access to data and systems, such as passwords and permissions. For example, requiring a username and password to log into a secure document portal is a form of logical access control. 40. Logical access control systems. Logical access control systems enforce security rules through digital authentication methods such as biometrics, tokens, or access lists. For instance, a VPN client that requires both a smart card and fingerprint scan is part of a logical access control system. 41. Log anomaly. A log anomaly is an unusual pattern or unexpected entry in a system log that may indicate suspicious or malicious activity. For example, multiple failed login attempts from different countries in a short time are flagged as a log anomaly and investigated. 42. Log consolidation. Log consolidation refers to combining logs from different sources into one location for easier analysis and monitoring. An example includes using a SIEM tool to collect and store logs from web servers, firewalls, and endpoint systems in a central dashboard. 43. Log entry. A log entry is a single recorded event or action in a system's log file, often used for tracking and auditing. For instance, when a user logs into their email account, the system creates a log entry with the time, username, and IP address. 44. Log retention. Log retention is the practice of storing system and security logs for a defined period for compliance, auditing, or investigation. For example, a healthcare provider keeps access logs for at least 6 years to meet HIPAA compliance requirements. 45. Logging. Logging refers to the process of recording system events, user actions, and alerts to support monitoring, detection, and response. For example, every time a file is opened or modified in a secure folder, the system logs the event with the user's name and timestamp. 46. MAC, Mandatory Access Control. MAC is a strict access control model where system-enforced rules control access based on labels and classifications, not user discretion. For example, a military database uses MAC to ensure only users with top-secret clearance can access highly classified documents, regardless of their role. 47. Malicious software. Malicious software, or malware, is any program designed to harm systems, steal data, or disrupt normal operations. An example includes a ransomware program that encrypts all files on a user's computer and demands payment to restore access. 48. Mantrap. A mantrap is a small physical security space between two locked doors that prevents unauthorized access by allowing entry to only one person. For instance, employees use a badge to enter a mantrap and must pass identity verification before the second door to the server room unlocks. 49. Mandatory access control. Mandatory access control refers to a model that uses system-assigned labels and clearances to enforce strict access permissions. For example, a classified system ensures that a user with confidential clearance cannot open files labeled secret or higher. 50. Motion detector. A motion detector is a physical security device that senses movement and triggers alerts or alarms. For example, a motion detector installed in a storage room after hours sends an alert to the security team when unauthorized movement is detected. 51. Network. A network is a group of interconnected computers, devices, or systems that share data and resources through communication paths. For instance, a company's internal network connects employee computers to shared printers, file servers, and email systems over a secure infrastructure. 52. Object. An object refers to a resource, such as a file, printer, or database, that users or systems can access or interact with. For example, a shared folder containing project documents is an object that can be read or edited by authorized users. 53. Offboarding. Offboarding refers to the formal process of removing system access, recovering assets, and ending privileges when an employee leaves. An example includes revoking VPN access, collecting keycards, and disabling email accounts on the last working day of a staff member. 54. Onboarding. Onboarding is the process of setting up accounts, access, and equipment for new users when they join an organization. For example, IT provisions a new hire's laptop, creates their email and HR system accounts, and grants access to necessary internal tools during onboarding. 55. Operating system. An operating system, OS, is the main software that manages hardware and allows programs to run on a device. For instance, Windows, Linux, and macOS are operating systems that support different types of applications, users, and device controls. 56. Parameter. A parameter is a specific value or setting that defines how a system, application, or process should function. An example includes setting a password parameter to require at least 12 characters with a mix of numbers and symbols. 57. Password. A password is a secret string of characters used to authenticate a user and verify their identity during login. For example, users must create strong passwords with uppercase letters, numbers, and symbols to protect their accounts from brute force attacks. 58. Patch management. Patch management is the process of regularly applying software updates to fix security flaws and improve system performance. For instance, the IT team installs monthly patches to fix known vulnerabilities in the company's web server and operating systems. 59. PII, personally identifiable information. PII refers to any data that can be used to identify an individual, such as name, address, or social security number. An example includes protecting employee records containing full names, phone numbers, and government IDs with encryption and strict access controls. 60. Physical access control. Physical access control refers to methods that limit entry to buildings or secure areas based on identity or credentials. For example, employees swipe access cards at the main entrance, and only those with clearance can access the server room. 61. Physical security. Physical security refers to protective measures that prevent unauthorized physical access to buildings, equipment, or sensitive areas. An example includes using surveillance cameras, badge readers, locks, and fences to safeguard a data center from intruders or accidents. 62. PIN. A PIN, personal identification number, is a numeric password used for identity verification, often with physical devices or accounts. For instance, a user enters a 6-digit PIN along with a smart card to log into a secure system or ATM. 63. Principle of least privilege. The principle of least privilege means users are given only the access necessary to perform their specific job duties, nothing more. For example, an HR clerk can view but not modify employee salaries, and cannot access IT system logs, reducing risk if their account is compromised. 64. Privileged access. Privileged access refers to elevated system permissions given to users like administrators, allowing them to make critical system changes. For example, an IT admin uses privileged access to create new user accounts, install applications, and manage network firewalls. 65. Privileged account. A privileged account is a special user account with high-level permissions, often used for system administration or security functions. For instance, the root account on a Linux server or the domain admin in Windows Active Directory are privileged accounts with full control. 66. Privileged user. A privileged user is someone with administrative rights who can perform advanced tasks like managing users, configuring settings, or updating systems. For example, a database administrator is a privileged user who can back up data, change access rights, and modify database structures. 67. Process. A process refers to a running program or task that is executed by a computer's operating system. For example, when a user opens a browser, the OS creates a separate process to manage it until the browser is closed. 68. Program. A program is a set of instructions that tells a computer what to do, often packaged as software applications. For instance, Microsoft Word is a program that allows users to create and edit documents, supported by an operating system like Windows. 69. Provisioning. Provisioning refers to setting up IT resources, accounts, or access permissions for users or devices in a secure and controlled way. An example includes automatically assigning email, HR system, and VPN access to a new employee through a centralized user provisioning system. 70. Ransomware. Ransomware is a type of malicious software that locks or encrypts a system's data and demands payment to restore access. For example, an employee clicks on a fake invoice email attachment, triggering ransomware that locks company files until a ransom is paid. 71. RBAC, Role-Based Access Control. RBAC is a model where user access is granted based on job roles, ensuring consistent and appropriate permissions across the organization. For instance, all help desk agents are given access to the ticketing system but cannot view or change payroll data, which is reserved for HR roles. 72. Record. A record is an individual data item or entry stored in a database or file that represents one piece of information. For example, a single row in a customer database containing a name, phone number, and email address is a record. 73. Regular user account. A regular user account is a standard login that allows basic access for everyday tasks but not for administrative changes. For instance, an office assistant logs in with a regular user account that permits email and document access but prevents software installation. 74. Resource owner. A resource owner is the person or entity responsible for managing and controlling access to a specific system, file, or service. For example, the finance manager acts as the resource owner for budget spreadsheets and decides who in the team can view or edit them. 75. Role. A role is a collection of access rights or responsibilities assigned to users based on their job function in the organization. For instance, a manager role might include permissions to approve leave requests, access reports, and view team schedules in an HR application. 76. Role-based access control. Role-based access control is a method of managing access by assigning permissions to roles instead of individuals, then assigning users to those roles. For example, when someone joins the HR department, they are assigned the HR role, which automatically grants access to employee records and payroll systems. 77. Rule. A rule is a specific instruction that defines what actions are allowed or denied in a security system. For instance, a firewall rule may block incoming traffic from certain IP addresses or allow only HTTPS connections to protect the web server. 78. Security control. A security control is any measure put in place to reduce risk and protect data, systems, or physical assets from harm or misuse. An example includes using multi-factor authentication, MFA, as a control to ensure only verified users can access sensitive information. 79. Security event. A security event is any observable occurrence within a system or network that may indicate a security-related issue. For example, 5 failed login attempts in a row from the same user could be logged as a security event and reviewed by the security team. 80. Security policy. A security policy is a formal set of rules that defines how an organization protects its information and systems. For instance, a policy may require employees to change passwords every 90 days and ban the use of personal USB devices on company computers. 81. Separation of duties. Separation of duties is a principle that prevents one person from having complete control over a critical task to reduce risk and fraud. For example, in a finance department, one employee prepares payments, and another approves them to avoid errors or abuse. 82. Server. A server is a computer or system that provides data, services, or resources to other devices, known as clients, over a network. An example includes a file server that stores company documents and allows employees to access them from their workstations. 83. Session. A session is a temporary, active connection between a user and a system or application that begins at login and ends when they log out. For instance, when a user logs into a company web portal, a session begins and ends automatically after 15 minutes of inactivity for security reasons. 84. Settings. Settings are configurable options in software or hardware that control how a device or application behaves. For example, enabling automatic updates in your antivirus software is a security setting that ensures you're always protected from new threats. 85. Software. Software refers to computer programs or applications that perform specific tasks or functions on a device or system. For instance, antivirus software scans files and prevents malware from executing on a workstation. 86. Subject. A subject is an active entity, usually a user or system, that requests access to an object like a file, system, or network resource. For example, when a user logs into the HR system to view a payroll report, the user is the subject requesting access to a protected object. 87. Switch. A switch is a networking device that connects devices within a local network and intelligently sends data only to the destination device. An example includes using a switch to connect all employee computers in an office, enabling efficient communication between systems. 88. Swipe card. A swipe card is a physical access tool that users slide through a reader to gain entry to secure areas. For instance, employees swipe their ID cards to access the server room, and the entry is recorded with the user's ID and timestamp. 89. System access. System access refers to the ability of a user or device to interact with and use a computer system or service. For example, users are granted system access to a company's accounting software only after completing required security training. 90. System logs. System logs are records of events and actions that occur within a system, often used for monitoring, troubleshooting, and auditing. For example, when a software update is installed, the system creates a log entry showing the update time, version, and the user who installed it. 91. System resource. A system resource is a component such as CPU time, memory, or disk space that programs and users need to perform tasks. For instance, if too many programs are running at once, the system may slow down due to limited memory, a vital system resource. 92. Technical control. A technical control is a security safeguard implemented using technology to protect systems, data, and networks. An example includes installing firewalls, using encryption, and enabling automatic account lockouts after multiple failed login attempts. 93. Technical safeguards. Technical safeguards are security tools and procedures used to protect data, particularly in electronic environments. For example, encrypting health records in a hospital's database is a technical safeguard that ensures patient data remains confidential. 94. Token. A token is a physical or digital device used to verify a user's identity, often part of multi-factor authentication. For instance, an employee logs in using a password and a 6-digit code generated by an authentication token on their smartphone. 95. Turnstile. A turnstile is a rotating gate used to control entry into a secure area, allowing only one person through at a time. For example, employees scan their access cards at the turnstile at the building entrance, which rotates only if they are authorized. 96. Unauthorized access. Unauthorized access refers to gaining entry into a system, location, or data without permission or proper credentials. For instance, someone using a colleague's login without approval to view confidential files is an example of unauthorized access. 97. Unix. Unix is a multi-user, multitasking operating system used mainly in servers and high-performance computing environments. For example, a research institution runs scientific simulations on Unix-based systems for their stability and security. 98. User. A user is any person or process that interacts with a system or application, typically with a unique identity or login. For instance, an employee accessing their email or a script running a backup job are both considered users in system security contexts. 99. User identity. User identity refers to the unique credentials or characteristics used to verify and differentiate individuals in a system. For example, a user's identity might be confirmed using a combination of their username, password, and fingerprint. 100. User provisioning. User provisioning is the process of creating, managing, and disabling user accounts and access rights within a system or network. For instance, HR notifies IT when a new employee joins, triggering a process that automatically creates their email, software access, and network login credentials. Thank you for watching at the end of this video. Please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel so you stay with our latest tutorials, quizzes, and multiple choice questions, and leave any feedback or queries in the comments section.